start writing?
I started writing, well, when I was about 6 years old, but only sort of 2 sentences in very big printing. I had my first short story accepted when I was 17, and I wrote lots of books but didn't get anything accepted for publication till I was about 23.
Did you always want to be an author?
I always wanted to be an author because I loved reading so much, and I loved playing imaginary games, and sometimes when there was a book I really liked, I would carry on thinking about the characters and make up my own stories for them. So I don't think I ever wanted to be anything else.
Okay. What are the best and worst things about being an author?
The best things about being an author is suddenly finding the right words to describe something, writing something that actually makes you smile a bit, or even feel sad if you're putting your characters through a tough time. And if that's going well, then you get a little thrill. And I also like it when I do events like this, and you go into a packed hall and there's lots of lovely girls going, there she is, there she is. It makes you feel very special indeed. The worst thing about being an author is that generally there comes a time when you're writing a book, when you're right in the middle of it, and you think, oh dear, this is rubbish, this is no good whatsoever. People will just laugh at me and say I can't write anymore, and that's horrible and worries you no end. But the thing is, that always happens, so you know you've just got to be brave, carry on writing, and then if there are bits that you really don't like, you have to go over them and change them until they seem all right. And also, another bad thing about being an author is that you can get awfully tired, because when you have a book out, it's lovely to go to all different places and tell people about it, and I like doing that, but sometimes when you don't get home till about 10 o'clock at night, you just feel so tired that you just go past eating and just want to flop into bed.
What would you want to be if you weren't an author?
I think that's quite an easy one. I would like to be a bookseller. I'd like to be a second-hand and antiquarian bookseller. In fact, I sometimes have little fantasies about actually setting up my own bookshop. I doubt I'd make much money because they don't nowadays, but I've got enough stock at home, enough books at home, because I've got about 15,000 books that I've collected over the years, so I'm never going to get them all read, so I could try selling some of them off in my bookshop.
Do you think you're like one of the characters in your books?
I sometimes say I'm a bit like the twins in Double Act. Have you two read Double Act? Because I think I'm mostly like Garnet, because I'm quite hard-working and hopefully imaginative, and I certainly worry quite a lot like Garnet does. There's a little bit of me that's like Ruby, who's a bit fierce and bossy and shows off a bit. So both the twins rolled into one, I would say.
Why are your books all about children that are poor or have no parents?
This is a strange thing. I don't always set off to write this way, and sometimes I think I'm going to surprise everybody and write a book about a girl who's got lots of friends, a mum and a dad who really care about each other, lots of brothers, sisters, cat, dog, budgie. But then I think, but what would the story be about? And I tend to like writing stories about people who are a bit odd ones out, and they have to find some way of making their lives a bit happier and a bit better. So that just seems naturally the sort of things that I write about.
Which is your favourite character from your books?
I'm very fond of Hetty Feather. I like Dolphin in The Illustrated Mum, and for boy characters I like Biscuits in Cliffhanger and Buried Alive and Best Friends. He's such a funny, cheery chap that if I could meet up with any of my characters, I think it would be biscuits. Plus, he can make very good cakes, so he'd feed me well.
What book did you enjoy the most writing and why?
I think I enjoyed writing Hetty Feather most because it was a bit of a change for me. Mostly I write very modern stories, but Hetty Feather had to be Victorian, and so this was a bit of a challenge. But I love the Victorians, and I read lots of books about the Victorians and actual novels written in Victorian times. And as I was reading these, the sort of character of Hetty Feather just sort of came alive inside my head, and I knew what she'd feel like and I knew how she'd write, because I wanted it still to be a very easy to read story, even though she doesn't talk in a very modern way. So I like writing about Hetty.
Why did you start writing historical?
I got the idea for writing about Hetty Feather because I got associated with the Foundling Museum in London. I don't know whether you girls have ever been there. Smashing museum, very, very interesting. And I did some charity work for them. And then the woman who used to run the museum said, of course, what we'd really like you to do is write us a special story. And I thought, well, I'd love to write a story about a foundling child. There's been a very good story about a foundling boy set in the 18th century. So I thought I could do a story about a foundling girl in the 19th century. And so I was very, very happy to do it. And I indeed have just brought out another story about Hetty Feather, which is Sapphire Battersea on there.
Do you need a routine with your writing, or can you write anywhere?
I can write anywhere. I'm very lucky. If I'm at home, what I generally do is I get up and I feed my cats, and then even before I have breakfast or before I have my bath or get dressed, I lie on this lovely sort of long pink sofa, and I write my stories first in a notebook with a pen, and I lie on the sofa. Sometimes one of the cats will come and lie with me, and I write for about an hour, and that seems to work quite well. And I might write more of the story later on in the day, but as long as I've had that hour of writing before I do anything else, that makes me feel quite happy and able to cope. But I can, if I've had a travel pill, I can write in the back of the car, write on trains. Sometimes, if I know I've got to go somewhere with a long, long queue, like the post office in Kingston, I will sometimes take my notebook with me and actually write my story in the queue, just anywhere really.
What's your main tip for children who want to be authors?
I always say read lots and lots, not really so that you copy other people's ideas, although why not when you're a child, because you can't do that when you're grown up. But simply reading is a wonderful thing to do, and it shows you how other people tell their stories, and the different, when you read different books, you can tell just by the writing style sometimes who's actually written them, and sort of you can think how to develop your own writing style. So I suggest reading lots and lots, and then also maybe keeping a diary, because that gets you into the habit of writing every day, even when you don't feel like it. And often writers don't feel like writing in the slightest. Is that it, girls?
Yeah.
Well, what sensible questions they were. And we did it all in one take, and that's very professional. Well done, girls.
That's lovely, Jackie. Thank you so much. Thank you